Hello, everybody, and welcome to our daily check-in. It is Friday, April 24th. As you can see, I have my hat and scarf on because apparently warm weather is never coming. So, for today's topic, I thought I would talk about a few different things. So, the first one is if you don't know who I am a social studies teacher for Team 6-1. And I feel like part of what my job is telling stories, right? Because history, all it is stories. Now, we know these stories change over time. We know that some stories are fiction and some are nonfiction. However, it is just the general concept of telling stories. So this reminded me. So if you see here, this isn't the actual one that he used, but my grandfather a long time ago, like way long before I was born, used to deliver milk. Because that was a thing. They would go around, and I know my father would tell me that he would go with him on these deliveries, and they would put the bottles out of fresh milk, take the empty ones, and then that would happen because that's how a lot of people used to get their milk. So now my father's father, he had passed away when I was one, so I didn't really know him. So only the stories I have are ones that my father has told me about him. And just like, my mother's mother, she died before I was born, so I don't really know a lot about her, but the stories that I do know come from either my sisters or my parents. So why am I saying this? So since for a living I tell stories, right? The question is, are you learning your family's stories? Are you asking your parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles things about how it used to be and something that they can share some stories with you? I know my grandfather on my mother's side, by the time I really got to know him, he was quite old, and so was my father's mother. And so I didn't really get all the details on some of their experiences. I know both my grandparents went through Ellis Island, but I don't know a lot about it except that they didn't like it. However, you want to take those opportunities when you're home to maybe ask your grandparents to tell you a story about something that's interesting that you would like to share on even with your kids down the line. Now, if your grandparents are not around, all my grandparents at this point have passed away, but if your grandparents are not around, ask your parents. Maybe they can tell you some stories about when they were kids. Now, I'm sure they're not going to tell you anything that they did that was like maybe not the greatest because, we're always trying to say, give a good positive message, but the idea is let them start telling you some stories. So when I saw this milk bottle, I keep them in my house because it does remind me of my grandfather, and he used to deliver milk. And so keeping those stories alive are good. I know sometimes with our family stories, there's some bad stories and, there's some good stories. So just hold on to those good ones because we want to make sure we keep these stories alive. That's why, I keep saying write some of these things down because that way you can share them for future generations. So what else, in addition to stories, that I want to talk about? So I was thinking, I saw this. It's kind of like a tchotchke thing that you get when you go on vacation, and it's a lighthouse. It's from North Carolina because, I used to go down to the Outer Banks because my sister, my oldest sister, has been renting a house down there for, I think, over 20 years at this point. But she was always nice enough to invite us down, and, so we would spend a lot of time at the Outer Banks, which is one of my absolute favorite places to be. So down there, there are a lot of lighthouses. So why am I sharing this? Because the sole purpose of the lighthouse is to shine a light in a storm, right? So the question is, who is the lighthouse in your house? Is it your parents? Are they the ones that are constantly showing you the right direction? It could be days that you might have to be. I know in our house, I get very distracted on trying to do things for school, and I lose focus. But my wife is usually very, you know, on course. So I always know that she is the light, she is the beacon in the house. She's really the one that keeps the house running. She allows me to do things like I'm doing now, like making videos and other things. And and I am grateful for that. So think about who is the lighthouse, who is shining the light, keeping everybody focused in your home and on task and on track. It could be you're having a bad day and it's that light or that person who makes you feel better. It could be you're struggling with homework and that person shines the light and gets you back on track. I mean, it could be a lot of things. We all want to be the lighthouse, but sometimes we're not all the lighthouse at the same time. So if your parents are the ones that are doing that for you, show them your gratitude, tell them you love them, give them hugs, etc. Because it is not easy being the lighthouse. It is not easy being the one who has to weather the storm and keep everyone together. So just a shout out to all the parents who have been working really hard during this time. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. And I know it's not easy because, I have 2 kids that we're trying to help as well while we're not teaching, and it's rough. So I get it. So we're very appreciative for you. So what's the last thing that I want to talk about today? One is, how do you keep yourself sane? Today we're doing an advisory in school. We're trying. So it's an advisory on positivity. So how do you stay positive? So I'm going to whip out an antique now. This is my iPod. I remember I said this to a kid and they're like, what do you mean iPod? I guess they're so used to just using their phones now. You guys are so advanced. But the iPod, I really enjoy it because I can have a lot of music on it and I can listen to music that makes me happy. So for me, as I've said before, it's the 80s music. I love 80s music. Now, don't get me wrong. I love 70s. I love, Led Zeppelin and The Who, and I like listening to the Rolling Stones from the 60s and the Beatles, but I do love 80s music. And it's that music that really keeps me motivated. I cannot go a day without music. I need to hear music. So I listen to my iPod, my old antique. They don't even make any more iPods, and that's how I keep sane. Now, yesterday's video, I was talking about, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. My daughter and I were making a bird feeder. So what I thought I would do to kind of end this video is I'm going to share with you our final product. Hopefully birds will actually come here, but it could be it's just a squirrel hangout. I don't know. So here is how it came out. So I'm going to show you. So if you are interested in making a bird feeder, the only thing I used really was a Gatorade bottle and like 2 sticks. Everything else you just cut out with scissors or whatever you might need. But I just thought it would be fun and hopefully a bird will come. Of course, I have a feeling the squirrels are going to get it. But I'm hopeful to maybe get a picture of a bird in my daughter's bird feeder. So on that note, some final announcements. Starting on Monday, it is Spirit Week, so make sure you wear your crazy hat. I am digging through my basement for a hat I got on New Year's Eve for last year, which is ridiculously embarrassing, but I'm willing to take one for the team and wear it, so I'm going to find it. So Monday is Crazy Hat Day, and I cannot wait to see your pictures. And just how I like to end most videos, just tell the people that you care about how you feel, tell them you love them, give them hugs. Keep reading those books, listening to music, dancing. You do what you need to do to make sure that you are in the best of spirits, okay? We are thinking about you always. Have an amazing weekend, and until our next check-in video, peace out.